Throughout this great land in America, there are literally hundreds and thousands of federal buildings scattered throughout the 50 states. And on the sides of those federal buildings, you will see plaques such as these that represent the two seals of the United States of America. One is a familiar one with the eagle, and the other one has the pyramid. Now, it wasn't until 1935 that these two seals appeared on the back of the dollar bill. This was done part and partial to the Great Depression, but we will get to that story eventually. Now, my big question is, what does an Egyptian pyramid have to do with Americana? I can understand possibly the eagle if this was an eagle to begin with. But an Egyptian pyramid, something is wrong here. I mean, it just doesn't even begin to fit in. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a good look into these two great seals of the United States of America and see if in fact they are American, or, as I am convinced, they are the two great seals of the Order of the Illuminati. Now, when we start with the back of the dollar bill, on your left-hand side, you will see the all-familiar pyramid. Now, at the top of the pyramid, you will see a 13-letter Latin expression that says Annuit Corruptus. At the bottom of it is another Latin expression, which is Novus Ordo Seclorum. Now, translated respectively, it says, announcing the birth, and underneath, of the New World Order. Now, some people are going to argue the point and say, well, seclorum does not mean that, and it actually comes out to mean the new order of the ages. We see seclorum is the word where we derive the word secular from. Anything that is secular is of the world. So it is proper, and I mean very proper, to translate this into New World Order. Now, if we look at the base of the pyramid, we will see the letters and the Roman numerals, MDCCLXXVI. This is 1776. But it is not referring to July 4th, 1776, which we celebrate America's independence on. It is actually referring to May 1st, 1776, when the Order of the Illuminati had been officiated. But we will show that later. Now, when we look at the pyramid itself, it has 13 levels to it. Now, there is a system in the occult world known as numerology. Numerology will assign numbers to letters and such. The second system is known as gematria. Now, gematria will give you the definition to each and every single one of those numbers. So, numerology assigns, gematria defines. Now, in gematria, 13 stands for depravity and rebellion. Now, at the top of the pyramid is a capstone that is separated from it. Most people will try to say that that is the eye of providence, or the all-seeing eye of God. It is not. First of all, this is a left-handed eye. If you look very carefully, you can tell it's left. In the occult world, any person who practices what's known as the left-hand path of magic practices the dark side of magic, such as Satanism, Luciferian witchcraft, so on and so forth. Then there is those who practice the right-hand side, or the right-hand path of witchcraft, and they're supposed to be good practitioners of the occult, you know. They can deceive themselves all they want, but God said none of it is any good. Now, this pyramid, this capstone, is three-sided. Now, interesting about it, you can tell just by looking at the whole design that the pyramid itself has four sides to it. You can tell this by the way it's been drawn in a three-dimensional fashion. But the capstone does not have that same quality. You see, the three sides of the capstone actually means and represents the Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet that you will find throughout the books of Daniel and especially in the book of Revelation. In short, what this first seal is saying is that on May 1st, 1776, a new world order had been born. It would be based on depravity and rebellion and headed by Lucifer. Now, when we take a look at the second seal, which is the seal of the eagle, you can note immediately right at the top of it there was a cluster of 13 stars. These 13 stars are surrounded by 28 guidelines. Again, remember, 13 stands for depravity and rebellion. 28 stands for eternity, or that which is an infinite. The eagle itself is clutching a 13-letter Latin expression. It is a banner that says E pluribus unum, which is one out of many. But the question is, one out of many what? You see, Dr. Adam Weishaupt, who, as you already know, created the Order of the Illuminati, and during its inception, he infiltrated other occult schools and orders of his day and age. He infiltrated the Rosicrucians, the OTO, the Masons, Jacobinism. He went into those organizations and took out the best and brightest minds and brought them into the Order of the Illuminati. In essence, what he had done, what he has taken, he had made one group out of many groups. This is what it is referring to. Now, the eagle itself, this is where it gets interesting. It looks like an eagle now, but what did the first seals of the United States of America look like? And this is what we're going to look at right now, ladies and gentlemen, because the first eagle was not an eagle at all. It was the phoenix bird. The phoenix bird is the bird of reincarnation. After living for about 400 to 500 years, the eagle would land upon the earth, be consumed in its own fire, and out of the fire an egg would emerge, and be left behind, and out of that egg the new phoenix bird would come out. This is the very first bird of the United States. It is not an eagle, ladies and gentlemen. It's only been disguised to look like one. It never was meant to be an eagle. It was always meant to be the phoenix. And when we look at the second seal, because the first one, which was accepted by Congress in 1782, had worn out. It had been used so many times, literally it had to be recast. The second one, which was done in 1841, looks more like the phoenix than an eagle. It still looks like a phoenix here, and you compare these pictures to the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, they look exactly like the phoenix birds. And let's face it, when we look at them, especially these chicken legs, come on, that's not an eagle. However, this is what so many people are expected to believe. Now, going back to the second seal, you will notice that there are two wings. On this side, there are 32 feathers if you count them. However, on this side, there are 33. And that's because it represents the two different branches of Masonry, the York Rite and the Scottish Rite. And I'm going to show you as we go along how the Masons have been involved in this all along, and that indeed Dr. Adam Weishaupt had taken over the Order of the Illuminati back in 1782. Now, when we look at the breastplate of this eagle, you will note that it has 12 horizontal lines and 3 sets of 6 vertical lines, or for a total of 18 lines. These 3 sets of dark lines separates this part of the shield into 7 white sections. Now, 12 is a number for governmental bondage, or bondage just in general. And 6 is a number for man, 7 is a number for God. Now, just keep this in mind, because as we go along, you will notice these 2 legs have 8 talons, or claws. There's 4 on this side and 4 on this side. One on the left is holding an olive branch that has 13 leaves and 13 berries, and this is supposed to represent peace and the fruit of that peace. The arrows are supposed to represent our military might and ability to defend ourselves. Now, 8 is the number for new beginnings. Now, I want you to notice especially that these talents are clenched. They're not open. Anything that is open is handed and given. Anything that is clenched, symbolically speaking, is being taken away. 9 is the number for finality. And this is where you will look and see the 9 tail feathers. Now, one important thing to take one last note of. Notice how the eagle is looking towards our left. Okay? It's looking, symbolically speaking, in favor of this coming new world order. If it was looking to the other side, it would be looking away in opposition, just like the eagle of the Nazi regime when it was looking away on the other side. It was looking away from us in opposition to our way of life and the belief that we have a right to rule and guide ourselves. What this first seal is saying, in light of this other seal, is that this new world order shall be eternally crowned with depravity and rebellion, having formed itself out of many groups. Through a perfect government, man will be put over God. But in the beginning, man will be held in bondage because man's peace and military might will be taken away from them, and that it is now complete. Now, what's interesting about the 2 great seals is that there was a lot of deception and stories given out by members of the government. We're led to believe that it's actually meant to be something else. Now, according to Ms. Condoleezza Rice, the 2 great seals are, not exactly what you and I have just looked at. According to her, and I will quote from this news article, the $1 bill symbolizes the unity, strength, and independence of a new nation, the United States of America. Well, either Ms. Rice hasn't been looking at the dollar bill, especially the pyramid part, or she has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Because, accordingly, now we will get into that argument in a second, this little booklet was put out in 1976 to commemorate America's bicentennial. She was 200 years old. And if you notice, it has the colorized versions of the 2 great seals. We have the eagle on this side, and on the back we have the pyramid. Now, in order for these seals to be used, they will be affixed in wax on top of new amendments, ratifications to amendments, executive orders, ambassadorial orders, so on and so forth. Now, what's interesting, when we put these on, let's say, treaties or anything like this, this represents the highest form of law in existence. You cannot have a ratification to an amendment, a new amendment, a treaty or anything, unless they bear the 2 great seals. They have to be affixed, so that document is legal. And to this very day, and it's been 30 years since I've left the Order of the Illuminati, and I've challenged people over those 30 years, come up with just one document, just one. One document, be it a ratification of an amendment, an executive order, a treaty, ambassadorial documents, anything that bear both seals. They have to bear both seals for them to be legal. There is no such thing. Never once in the 30 years that I've been doing this has anyone ever produced a document that bear both those seals. And the reason they can't is because the eagle part of the 2 great seals has been cast. We can even see it in this booklet where they're printing it and everything. But the problem is, the second part, the pyramid one, does not exist. It has never been cast yet. So how can any of those documents and such that we affix the seal with, how can any of them be legal? They can't be. However, I have seen documents when I was in the Order of the Illuminati that does bear both those seals. And the reason is because they are the two seals of the Order of the Illuminati. And I'm going to get into further this. Watch. I want you folks to take a good look at these diagrams right here. The very first one is known as a pentacle, and this one is a pentagram. You'll notice the difference is this one is interwoven. This is just having the lines on top of each other. Now, this next symbol is what's known as the Seal of Solomon, the Seal of David, the Mogan David, the Jewish star. This is the Star of Israel, okay? It's not to be confused with this other star here, which is known as a hexagram. Now, with the Star of David, you will note it is two equilateral triangles that are interwoven. This shows the unity of man with God. When you take the two equilateral triangles and place one on top of another, it shows man above God. Now, the foulest, the most perverted symbol in all the occult, and I mean there is nothing more evil than this symbol, it is the hexagram. Now the hexagram has 6 points to it from the Greek for hexer, for 6, and it has a circle. This symbol must be used during high ceremonial magic or high ceremonial witchcraft if you are going to summon, and I mean literally summon, to this plane of existence a demon. Now bear all these things in mind as we turn to the Bible in Revelation 13:18. It clearly points out and says, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And his numbers is 666. So in other words, it says 666. Now, when we look once again at the hexagram, it is a 6-sided image. One question that we really need to answer is, why are there so many 13s on the two seals of the United States of America? We see a 13-letter Latin expression, 13 steps in the pyramid. There are 13 stars above the eagle's head. There was a 13-letter Latin expression. 13 leaves, 13 berries, 6 and 7 on the shield is 13. 13 arrows. I mean, why so many 13s? It's not because of the 13 original colonies. That would be too easy an excuse, and it would not explain why there were so many 13s. It would not be necessary to use that many 13s to denote 13 colonies. There is something going on here, and this ties in with biblical prophecy, the Illuminati, and the two great seals of the United States of America. Now, if you remember, there was a 6-pointed star in the occult world known as a hexagram. It is the foulest and most evil of all symbols. Now, how many of you remember that old kids game we used to play, connect the dots? You would, just take the dots in and you play that game, and it would make a figure, and so on and so forth. Well, what we are going to do, we are literally going to play connect the dots, but with the 13s found on the dollar bill. And I think you're going to be in for a big surprise, because when we take a look at the eagle seal and then connect all the dots at the top, you will note that there is a hexagram, a 6-pointed star, and in the section of each of those points, I should say, there's a star. It comes out to be 6 stars surrounding 7. Remember, 6 is a number for man, 7 is a number for God. In essence, they are once again placing man above God. And this is going to be eternal, because the 28 guidelines represents eternity, or that which is infinite. Now, what about the rest of the 13s on the seal? Well, when we take all the 13s and connect them, you will note you have another hexagram. You connect the 13 stars to the 13 berries and leaves, over to the 13 arrows, to the 13 stars and the 13-letter banner, to the point, and there is a point here at the seal on this shield, where you connect it to the 6 and 7, which is 13, and notice that this hexagram once again comes with a circle. So we have, in essence, so far 2 6s, 2 hexagrams through it. Now, if I am correct, then there has to be a third hexagram somewhere. And if we look at the other seal, you will note, once again, just by connecting the 13s, you have another hexagram, and notice how it comes with the circle. Now, what I want you to take a good look at here right now is how this is connected here at the base of the pyramid. You will note that the M in the letters, the Roman numbers, is covered by the seal. But you will notice the I, or the 1, is outside of it. It is for this reason we are talking about May 1st, 1776. That's what it is referring to. So you see, by connecting all the dots, we have 3 hexagrams, or as the Bible says, a 6, and another 6. But it doesn't end there. Using the same seal, the pyramid. Why the pyramid? Why the Egyptian pyramid? Because this goes back to part of the belief of the Masonic order, which the Illuminati took over back in July 16, 1782 at the Congress of Williamsburg. Now, we have to start at the base of the pyramid, which is the beginning and foundation of all things, and when we just follow the outline of the hexagram itself, we're going to find something very startling. Because it starts at the M, goes all the way up to the A. We're just following the outline now. From the A, it goes underneath the eye of Lucifer, over to the S. It comes down and goes in between the Roman numerals and connects to the O. It follows up and over to the last point, which is N. In perfect order, it's M-A-S-O-N, Mason. This proves categorically that the Masons are involved in the order of the Illuminati. Though I'll tell you right now, 95% of all Masons haven't got a clue as to what's going on within their own temples. It's only the top echelon that know what's going on. And we will get into this further during the second DVD of this series, and that DVD, that's a 4th DVD, and that one is called Magic, Mysticism, and Masonry. But as I was saying, that will be further along down the series. But for now, when we take a look at the seal, it is undoubtedly M-A-S-O-N. Now, some people, for some reason, like to drag the S down here and connect it to the O over here. They are incorrect. They haven't got an idea what they're talking about. They're not even plagiarizing me correctly at that point. It's always been like this ever since it was designed under the auspices of the Order of the Illuminati. Now, even if we take these things away and take a look at the colorized versions, you will notice nothing changes. The 2 great seals still have 2 hexagrams here, the first one here, the second one here, when you connect all the 13s, and notice the circle. The third one is over here, and when you connect the letters through the diagram, as you should, it still comes out to be Mason. No matter what you say, ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 hexagrams there, or as the Bible says, a 6, a 6, a 6. But it doesn't end there. There was a lot more going on with the dollar bill than people realize, and we're going to get into this right now. Now, if you've ever taken out a dollar bill and looked at it from the front, you'll notice that there are 4 ones. One is in each corner. But the one on the top of the dollar bill, the right-hand side, is different. The other 3 have an oval around it. This one here, the top right-hand one, doesn't. This is what it looks like magnified. You'll notice it has a shield instead of that oval. And interesting enough, this shield is almost exactly like the original shield of the House of Rothschild when Moses Amschel Bauer, who would later change his last name to Rothschild, hung out a sign that was very closely designed like this. It was in the form of a shield. Now, with this particular shield, I want you to take a look how there's a crescent moon here. The crescent moon in the occult world represents the goddess. Okay, there was a god and goddess in the different mythologies surrounding those occult religions. Now, in the center, right here, of that crescent moon, you will notice there is an owl. Some people say it's a spider, but if you look at it carefully under extreme magnification, it is an owl. This owl represents wisdom. It is a bird that's always been associated with that, especially since the legends of Pallas Athena, who was the Roman goddess of the hunt and of magic and of wisdom. And she always had the owl with her. The owl symbolized her wisdom. The owl became denoted as the bird of wisdom. Now, it's interesting enough that it was purposely picked to be an owl. You see, the word Illuminati is derived from the Latin, which means the wise ones, or the enlightened ones. And it is the owl that has always symbolized that wisdom. Now, and when we take it into the Bible, to Lucifer, the god that they believe is God, you know, that's just, you know, Satan is a fallen angel, but they believe he's God. From the translation again, from the Hebrew, literally, we find out that God had said in his own word in Isaiah and Ezekiel that Lucifer was the wisest of all his creations. He was the anointed cherub. So again, here we have wisdom. It was supposedly the wisest being, Lucifer, who did start these occult religions, and eventually they passed on. Pallas Athena became known as one of the patron goddesses of wisdom. The owl bird represented that wisdom. It's brought up into the name, the Illuminati, the wise ones. So you see, all these things are interconnected again. This is why it is the owl that was put on the dollar bill. You see, just like any other society, cultures, nations and such, the Illuminati have their token symbols, have their token birds to represent what they're all about. Just like the 2 Great Seals, we think it's Americana. No, those belong to the Illuminati. And the owl themselves is another example of one of the totem birds of the Illuminati. Now, turn the dollar bill over, and if you look at the left-hand side, we come up with another interesting section. Now, this is just running from top to bottom, the left-hand side of the dollar bill. Now, let's just turn it a little like this. And you'll notice that there are hundreds of diagonal lines running up and down and up and down. It looks just like some type of spider web or something just blurry, you know. There is a psychological test that we use to this very day in psychology that's known as the Rorschach smear test. It was created by Dr. Rorschach. Now, this is the famous ink blot test. You know, you take a piece of paper, put ink on it, folded, and you're supposed to see something on a subconscious level that your conscious mind isn't seeing. Now, if we were to reverse this principle and purposely put something in the background, but cover it up in such a way that your conscious mind could see it, it would be a perfect way to disguise something. And this is what they did with this part of the dollar bill. You can see this part on the left-hand side of the dollar bill running up and down in between both ones, and you'll see the same thing on the opposite side on the right-hand side. Now what I'm going to show you is going to be very startling indeed, because when we first, and I'm going to show it to you like this, take a look at this again. Well, it doesn't look like there's much there except all what I call background noise. It's just a lot of busyness. It's meant to keep your conscious mind from seeing what's really there. Now the question is, what's really there? Get all the noise, all the background noise out of the area, and this is what you're left with. You're left once again with the owl of the Illuminati. Now, take a look at this side and compare it to this side. Again, as we're saying, get rid of the background noise, and you will see once and for all that there is an owl there. It is the same owl of the Illuminati. And what is even more interesting is that I have found a number of examples of these owls, the Illuminati owls, throughout many, many different things. First of all, like in advertising. Okay, here we have L'Oreal that's advertising another product. Now what I want you to take a good look is that this dark O here is bigger than the rest of all the letters. That is supposed to play on your subconscious mind, because notice how this O is next to this O. The I is very symmetrical here, very symmetrical like this, purposely, because you're supposed to fix on this subconsciously, because in the center of it is that same Illuminati owl. Notice how it is also perched. On an episode of the television series known as Thief, we have the shield again of the $1 bill. However, something is going on here. When we compare this to the first shield, this owl has been shifted. It's looking straight ahead, whereas this one is looking towards the other side. It's looking on in favor of this New World Order. So my question is, what's going on with this owl in particular? Now, as a former Illuminist, I can tell you that there was something purposely put inside this episode, or possibly the whole series, because I've never seen it myself, that only someone in the Illuminati could pick up on. It has something to do with the occult or something with the coming New World Order. In any case, this is how the Illuminati mark their territory, and how they also get out messages to masses, literally masses of followers of the Illuminati all at once. And it is the same Illuminati owl that is being worshipped at the Bohemian Grove in California. Now here is a very rare photo I have of the Bohemian Grove that was taken back in 1925. You will notice the famous 40-foot owl that they literally bow down to and worship in front of this lake, on top of those steps, at the platform at the base of the altar. It is, again, as we're saying, the Order of the Illuminati owl, and here is that same owl, a night scene, at the Bohemian Grove. You can see how they've got the traditional fire going, reflecting off the lake. They're in their robes, and they're bowing down to the owl of the Illuminati. Now, if you remember, at the base of the $1 bill is where we're going to be turning to next. Because at the base, when we look over just a little to it, we get to this section. Now, for some of you who have been paying very strict attention, you can already begin to see that something is going on here. We're looking at more of these diagonal lines and everything else. Now, if we were to take this section and just go and blow it up, blow it up, blow it up even bigger, I think once you get to this point, something becomes very obvious. And what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of all the background noise, as I call it, once again, and I'm going to show you what is there. It is a skulled face winged demon. And these surround the entire bottom and top of the dollar bill. So in other words, these demons are blessing and protecting the two great seals of the Order of the Illuminati. Now, we still got just a little more ground to cover with this. Now, let's take a look at a regular $1 bill, the front and the reverse side, the obverse and the reverse. Whenever you see a 666, an owl, or something from the Illuminati, they're marking their territory. This is how they've done it. This is how they've always done it. This is how they always will do it. However, when you see a triplicity of, let's say, the 666, this is sacred territory to them. They will kill to protect. Now, when we take a look, and we'll just start at the bottom and compare the ones, you will note the 4 ones at the corner, and you will notice the wood one here under the official seal and the wood one here. So that makes up 6 ones. Now, from here, you will notice that there was a 1, a 1, a 1, and a 1. However, on top of each one of those ones is the word 1. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. So we have 6 here, and so far 2, 4, 6, and 8 more for a total of 14. We have the word 1 here. We have the word 1 here. 2 more times for 16. Now, this is where they got covered, because you have to understand a little bit of Latin here to go with this. At the base of the pyramid is the Roman number for 1, which makes 17. And then on this side of the eagle of the banner is the Latin word for 1. So in essence, we have 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is 18 ones. The triplicity of 6s. This is sacred, holy territory to the Illuminati. This is why all this was disguised the way it was, so you would never, ever be able to see it. And this is just part of the secrets of the Illuminati that they don't want you to know about. But that's what this DVD series is all about. We are going to be revealing all the secrets of the Order of the Illuminati, and we're going to go with so much more that's been going on, not just with the Illuminati, but also with the Masons, other occult schools, our own government, and so on and so forth. Now, I want you to take a look at these next symbols. Now, if you remember, we had earlier talked about Nimrod and Semiramis. Now, Semiramis would be depicted as a mother goddess holding her infant son. Her symbol had always been the crescent moon. For Nimrod, it would always be the 5-pointed star or the golden sun, because he was, in essence, the sun god. So whenever you see the sun god, you know, the symbol of the sun god, or the mother depicted holding the child, you know you're seeing some of the most ancient symbols in the occult world. Now, when 2000 came along, the Illuminati decided that they were going to do something to celebrate it, to show that they are indeed the driving power behind the coming New World Order. But they had to do it in a way that only an ex-Illuminist or their own fellow present-day Illuminists would recognize this. And they did do this. Over here, we will now take a look at the famous Sacagawea $1 coin. Take a very good look at Sacagawea. You will note she is holding her infant child behind her, isn't she? You will also note that it is a gold coin that is in a circle. And you will take again, let's take a note of the reverse side. We find the familiar eagle, which is really the phoenix bird. In essence, what you are looking at is, if we translate this according to the occult translation, is that the mother and God is victorious over the United States of America. And this happened back in 2000. Again, we are looking at a common symbol for the mother-God combination. We've seen this in Isis and her son Horus, and it's brought all the way up, if you remember, as we had previously discussed, to Mary holding the infant Christ. And here, once again, we have another example of the occult symbolism of Semiramis and her son Nimrod. I think, beyond any shadow of doubt, we have presented more than enough evidence that leads conclusively to only one conclusion. The dollar bill and the two great seals are not ours. Those are, in fact, the two seals of the Order of the Illuminati. And we're going to get into this even deeper. We're going to show how there is even a greater Masonic entanglement into all this than just on the two great seals. So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, just bear in mind the Masonic involvement as we go over into the next section, which is known as the maps of Washington, D.C. Now, the infiltration of the Order of the Illuminati into America began very, very early. First, it started with the Great Seals of the United States, which we have just gone through. And then, further on, in 1790, the original plans for Washington, D.C. had been affected. Now, I want you to take a good look at this map here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a copy of the original map as penned back in 1790. This is the original map. I mean, I'm really amused by this map at times because you'll notice that if they made a mistake, like with the spelling of the word here, Potomac, they just crossed that out and just fixed it. They just kept going, you know. So I find these things not just interesting on an intellectual basis, but it's very, you know, funny the way they had corrected and done things back then. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of maps here. We're just going to take this one away for now, and I'm going to show you a couple of tourist maps. Now, these are regular maps that you can get on the streets of Washington, D.C. There's nothing special about them. This one here, you know, Washington, D.C. with visitor's guide, Central Washington, D.C. street map, okay? Nothing but tourist map. That's why I got them was on the street. Now, we're just going to take this first map, and we're going to open it up and take a look at it. Now, there's going to be a lot of immediate objections by the Masons. And I say the Masons because when we take a look at the map itself, just this section, you're going to see a couple of interesting symbols automatically. Let's start right over here to begin with. You will note that if we turn it around like this, it looks like some sort of satanic stick figure with the horns. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this, ladies and gentlemen, because all these things are done through the streets. They are connected purposely at particular monuments and certain parts of the roads themselves. This whole thing was done under occult symbolism. This one here, to begin with, is made up of what's known as the square. This is one of the 4 sacred symbols in Masonry. This represents a square. This here, the head with the 2 legs, is a compass. You know, this is a regular compass that you use in mathematics and such, but this is another one of the Masonic symbols we have running through the mall and all the way through Washington, D.C., up to the House of the Temple, the Masonic rule. So 3 of the 4 of the most sacred of all Masonic symbols is there to begin with. Over here we have, at the top, the United States Capitol. Over here we have the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Running through and right through in this section is the Washington Monument, which I shall be getting back to in another part of the DVD series, all the way up to the White House. Now, turning the map once again, just to show you the normal view, we have the 5-pointed star, or what comes out to mean, and it's commonly known as the goat head of Mendes, or the mezzanine goat head, or what's known as the satanic goat head. Now, interesting enough, this satanic goat head was drawn by Eliphas Levi back in the 1800s. And Eliphas Levi was not just one of the most powerful occultists in his day and age, but he was also a Mason. And you heard that right, he was a Mason. Now, when we look at the very top of this map, you will notice it says the House of the Temple. It's exactly 13 city blocks from the White House to this point, and the House of the Temple is the one place where you go to become a 33rd degree Mason, the highest of the highest. This is where you become a Sovereign Grand Inspector General. So, this is just an abbreviation of this entire section, because we are beginning to run out of time here, ladies and gentlemen, to which I apologize, but I want you to take a good look at this section here, because you see, believe it or not, there was another triplicity going on here of 6s. Now, again, take a look at the satanic stick figure. These are made up of the roads. Now, according to the Bible, this satanic person, this Antichrist, has the numerical value of 666. Now, over here is the Washington Monument. It connects through all of this.